Okay, so there's the very interesting phenomenon that people that always say, like, I don't need advice. I'm good. Like I know what I'm doing. So those are the people that very often, when you try to correct them, when you try to give them a little bit of advice, when you try to steer them closer to the right direction, so then they automatically become defensive and they become like really like snappy and like unpleasant to be around. And the people that ask questions, so those are the people that are more calm, right? And like I would have thought it would be the opposite. I would have thought that a person who's more confident, so he's going to be more like he knows what he's doing and he doesn't need advice. And the person that doesn't know what he's doing, that he would be the one who's like snappy and like doesn't know where he's going. And so there's this reality that the people who are more calm, the people that i.e. confident, so they're the people that are asking questions, and the people that don't want to ask questions, they're the people that are more tense and they don't really have peace of mind. So this is I think this is a very interesting thing to look into, and Rebbe Nachman really addresses this. That Rebbe Nachman he's aware of this, that there's something very healthy about the ability to accept information from the outside, and he actually says something very shocking, that a person that isn't willing to take advice from the outside, so that's actually a symptom of insanity, okay, which is a very person who's not willing to take advice. So that's a sign that he's bordering on insanity, like that he's lacking in his very basic ability to be a functioning human being. So this is the topic of Rebbe Nachman's teaching tonight in Sichot Haran. We're up to Torah Samach Zayin, chapter 67, and he writes, "The Misha Eino Shomea Mitzayos L'Devei Chachamim Amitiyim," a person that doesn't listen and follow the advice of truly wise people, who Yochel Lishtageh, then he's going to just go crazy. He's going to become an insane person. Ki Iker HaShigaon Shekol HaMishugayim, because the essence of all of the craziness, of all the crazy people, so what is it? It's all because it's because they don't listen to the people that actually have seichel. Because the crazy person, everybody just picture the crazy person that you know, your favorite crazy person. If he would just listen to the normal people, to the sane people that tell him how to be sane, then he wouldn't be crazy. Because even though he's sure in his craze, so he is sure that he absolutely needs to go with ripped clothing, or he needs to just roll around in the garbage. Okay, that's, I guess, what the crazy people of Breslov or Uman were doing. When his friend, who has more intellect than him, would say, it's okay. You're good. You don't need to roll around in the garbage. It's okay to have not ripped clothing. It's okay to have normal clothing. It's okay to have a normal haircut. It's okay to have a normal piercings and so if you listen to the people that have seicha, so then he wouldn't be crazy anymore. Then all of his craziness would just fall aside. So he says he wants us to understand this, that the essence of his craziness is specifically in the fact that he doesn't want to listen to the advice of others. Okay, so I think first of all, I think this is very novel idea, because I would have said that what's the main definition of a crazy person? I would have said that the main definition is a person that his head doesn't work properly, that there's a screw missing, that there's some lack of ability to make cognitive decisions that in a normal way. And that's what it means to be crazy. And Rebbe Nachman doesn't say that. He says that no, like, you know what his real problem is? His real problem is the fact that he doesn't listen to other people. And what he's really saying is, I think, that we all have this ability to be crazy. Like anybody could be crazy, that if we're not going to listen, if we're going to be in our crazes, if we're going to allow ourselves to be in this echo chamber of our own thoughts, then we need to be aware of the fact that we have this danger of becoming completely insane, becoming psychotic. I once heard this interesting thing. This is a Rav in Givat Shaul said this, that he asked, how come when we see a person, the nebuch, that he has some kind of illness, a person who's handicapped, a person who's missing a limb, a person who's clearly has some kind of illness, chas v'shalom, that like the natural response is to have empathy, right? Is to feel bad for him. When we see a person that's acting crazy, it's mental illness. The person who's acting with a mental illness, so we have this instinct to laugh. And it's strange. Like it's very obvious that he has an illness. So, and we know that he has an illness. We know that he's sick, and we know that his life is probably very unpleasant because of this illness. So, why is it that our natural reaction is, instead of empathy, our first reaction is laughter? So, it could be that there's psychological reasons, but he said an interesting thing. He said that the real reason is because when we see the crazy person, so we instinctively identify. I say, yeah, that's really me too. and then we're actually laughing at ourselves. we're laughing at ourselves. To I'm also crazy, and that's the reason why when we recognize that we have this insanity inside of ourselves too, then we don't know how to deal with that. So we laugh at ourselves in order to embrace that situation, in order to laugh it off, so to speak. So Rebbe Nachman is saying that we all have this ability to be crazy people, and the main difference between a person who's psychotic, a person who's not psychotic, a person who's healthy, is in their ability to listen, their ability to take advice from somebody else. Yeah.
I have a couple comments. One, there's people who are like entrepreneurial and they have this novel idea and they're looked at as like crazy, like that's impossible, and but they're geniuses. As well.
I think when people say you're crazy, we use the word crazy very freely.
Like insane, like you're like, this is never going to work. Like you're nuts.
Right. We also use insane that in a good way, right? Like I think the way we use the word insane in our natural conversations doesn't mean clinically insane. Like Rebbe Nachman is talking about they're talking about the difference between a person who's healthy and a person who's psychotic. Person who's needs to be I don't think anybody that when a person looks at an entrepreneur and says you're crazy, he doesn't mean that you should be locked up.
Yeah.
Rebbe Nachman is talking about a person that should be locked up.
And that's the person that doesn't take advice.
So he's saying that the person that doesn't take advice, the person that doesn't listen to people who are wiser than him, so he should be locked up. That's this novel, this eye-opening wake-up call, that it's so critical to be able to listen to advice, to listen to the outside, that this could be the breaking point between staying sane or going off the deep end. Okay, so
the other thing I was thinking was say it's someone who has lived, they have their own life experiences and they're like in their 50s, 60s, whatever. Typically speaking, they're much less susceptible to advice. I've lived this, I've done this, I've been this, I know better than you because I'm older than you. And that may be true, but not always necessarily.
Okay, I guess we'll have to wait and see, and exactly what he says. Those people who have lived through life and they don't want to take advice anymore, so it could be that Rebbe Nachman would label them as insane. It could be that he would not. We'll have to see exactly how it plays out. So first of all, what is the connection between psychosis and the lack of ability to receive advice, to receive wisdom from the outside? So I think that we could explain this in three different ways. First of all, a person that doesn't want to listen to people who are wiser than him. So why exactly doesn't he want to listen to them? Right? So either it's because he thinks that he's the smartest person in the world, which if he thinks he's the smartest person in the world, so that itself is an element of a delusion. That itself is an element of some kind of schizophrenia, something of grandeur, that he thinks he's greater, bigger than life, and that itself is not a healthy assumption. And if he realizes that people are smarter than him and still he doesn't want to listen to them, so that itself doesn't make sense. It's simply illogical. That if you agree that the person is smarter than you, and he's wiser than you, and like in every element of life, and he thinks that what you're doing is a little bit off, so then why aren't you listening to them? Like that itself is an illogical thing. You're not following logic. So like a person that thinks that a person that based on his basic relationship to the person who's giving this advice, so like minei ubei, that either way there's something illogical about that relationship. That either I think I'm smarter than everybody, or that even though I know I'm not, but I still don't care, that's also illogical. Okay, so that's the first element of insanity. Number two, that if I don't recognize the limits of my own understanding, so that itself is a sign of some kind of lack of being in touch with reality. That a healthy person understands that there's things I know and there's things I don't know, and I have my personal perspective. We were talking about this. We were talking about this the other day about how that if a person is judging other people, that means that they are assuming that they understand every perspective of every situation, and like you don't know. You don't, like if you can say that based on your upbringing and based on your knowledge, then things seem okay, but he has a different upbringing, a different situation, a different knowledge, and like, he thinks it is okay. So like, how can you judge that you're evil, you're wrong? You're like, you can say this is what I think, but you don't know the whole picture, right? So in the same sense, a healthy person understands that I know what I know and I know what I don't know. And to get mixed up about that, to think that there is nothing that I don't know, that's not being in touch with reality. There was an interesting study done that they did a survey of different professors, and they asked them, what percentage of your entire field do you know? And so the survey revealed that the more successful, the more knowledgeable, the more the people the people that are more highly acclaimed, they consistently said that they claimed to know a lower percentage of the field. Meaning that a person that is considered a world's expert in a certain field, he was the one that would say, I know about 30% of what there is to know. Whereas a person who's just like a random professor that nobody really cares what he says, he would say that I know about 80% of what there is to know in my field. And so it was actually inversely proportional. That like how much you know was actually proportional to how much you realize that you don't know. And if you know less, then you think that there is less that you don't know. So like to be a healthy person, to be in touch with reality, is a person that understands that I know what I know, and there's less that I don't know, and that's the way it is. And like, there's nothing to be embarrassed about the fact that I don't know everything, because that's reality. Like, I'm very happy to help you if it's something that I know. If but there's nothing wrong with the fact that I don't know something, right? So this is to not be aware of my limits. So this itself is not being in touch with reality, which is really some, like Rebbe Nachman is saying, is a sign of some kind of psychosis, right? So this is, we have to be aware of the fact that this is something that we all struggle with. Because there's an interesting thing. The Gemara says, the Mishnah says that ein adam roya nigei atzmai. That it's really the source of this Mishnah is really a halachic thing, that in the halachas of Negaim, of leprosy, so it says that a person isn't allowed to paskin on his own negaim. Okay, but the Baalei Mussar say that negaim is actually just a general term for a person's flaws. And when it says ein adam raya negei atzmai, what it really means is that a person doesn't see his own flaws. So what I don't know is my flaws, right? So like in my own eyes, so I'm always good. And so we have this natural mechanism telling us that whatever we think is right and whatever we do is right. And so if somebody else is going to tell us that there's a different approach, so that I'm automatically going to be defensive. I'm automatically going to try to shoot him down because I'd like to believe that what I'm doing is right and that I am the be-all and end-all of truth. And so there's we have to be aware of the fact that there is so much that we don't know, and there is so much there's so much truth that we could improve ourselves and correct ourselves, and to be aware of the fact that just being real is the fact that we're on a journey. To think that we're there is being unrealistic and it's being psychotic. Right? This should be the biggest takeaway of tonight's class. That just don't be psychotic. Don't be crazy. If you don't want to be locked up, then so listen to this class, right? Listen. Yes.
I've seen a lot of things in Nukla.
Yes, there's going to be a guard on the way out. If you. So now the third thing is the third reason why not being able to receive advice is really connected to insanity is because psychologically, so there's three symptoms of psychosis. The number one, hallucinations, that a person thinks that there's hearing voices, a person sees things, a person things that don't exist. Number two, they have confused thoughts that they talk incoherently. They'll sometimes just stop in the middle of a sentence and not know where they were, and they'll just bring in multiple ideas in the middle of one paragraph. No, ADHD is something else. I'm ADHD, so it's switching from topic to topic in a coherent way is ADHD. In an incoherent way would be if people say, "Wow, you're so ADHD," that means you're ADHD. If somebody says, "Wow, I think you need to be locked up," then you're I don't know, I'll ask your roommates, So the third symptom of psychosis is being delusional. Okay, what does it mean to be delusional? So the definition of being delusional is to have an unshakable belief in something which is untrue. Okay? So if sometimes a person has a certain belief that this is going to work. That person has I know a person that they have a certain belief that this cryptocurrency is going to be the next, I don't know what, and it's going to make everybody rich, and he insisted on whatever. It doesn't, and so a person could have it could be simple things. So a person could have a certain belief that this person is a good person. A person you show him evidence after evidence that this person is an evil person, and I can't accept that. I can't accept that. This is I know him. He's a good person. I promise you, he's a good person. And a person could have a certain belief that this is a good way to live, and this is called honesty. It's called I promise you. My rabbi said that this is okay to lie about this, and a person could think that this is it's a healthy way of life, and my teachers and my community says, and you give them evidence after evidence that this is just wrong, that this is just wrong, and they just they don't care. There's no one home, and so this is what it means to be delusional. That despite all the evidence, that a person clings onto a certain truth, and so psychologically, that this is precisely what it means. Not to ask for advice means that I have my truth, and nobody's going to sway me from my truth because that's just wrong, and I don't care that you're wiser than me. I don't care that there's evidence, and it just can't be because that's not the way it is. So these delusional thoughts. These cause a person to sometimes harm themselves, and they're sure that this is a correct way to live, and even though it's clearly losing causing them to lose friends, causing them to lose jobs, causing them to harm themselves physically. A person could get into a craze about that they need to fast, to do tshuva for whatever, and because of that they become dangerously underweight, and they could even die. And a person could consistently do bad things that it's clear that they're damaging themselves, damaging other people around them, and they don't care. They don't care. So that's what it means to be delusional, and that's one of the symptoms of being insane. And that's really what Rebbe Nachman is saying. The person that doesn't listen to others who are wiser than them. So this brings the person to insanity. Okay. So this is what I think Rebbe Nachman might have meant when he said that a person that doesn't listen to others, so that brings a person to insanity. So number one, because how could you not care about what other people say? Either you think you're the smartest person in the world, or you don't care about the fact that other people are smarter than you. So both of those statements are irrational and crazy. Number two, that if you don't have an awareness of the limits of your understanding, that itself is a lack of sanity. And number three, that the fact that you're fixating on a certain truth, even though there's evidence the opposite, so that's called being delusional, and that is a symptom of insanity. So the question is that after Rebbe Nachman has taught us this, that we need to be very open to criticism. We have to be very open to asking advice. We need to be open to wisdom, to not knowing that there are wise people in the world, and we want to take in from their wisdom. So the problem is that there's another huge Rebbe Nachman idea that seems to contradict this, and that is that Rebbe Nachman was a huge proponent that a person needs to believe in themselves. Okay, and this is something that when Rebbe Nachman believed in himself, like to the point that people criticized him about how much he believed in himself, but the reason why it's actually okay is because he didn't just believe in himself; he actually taught his students to believe in themselves as well. And the first time that his student Rebbe Nachman came to him, so Rebbe Nachman reports that he said, "What do you want to learn? What do you want to learn?" And he said, I need to have emunah. I need to have emunah, and I want to learn to believe in Hashem. And Rebbe Nachman told him that you're wrong. You're wrong. You have emunah. You have emunah. You know what you're lacking? You're lacking emunah in zich. You're lacking emunah in yourself. Don't tell me that you want to learn from me how to believe in Hashem. You believe in Hashem already. That's not your problem. Your problem is you need to believe in yourself. And this empowering philosophy that Rebbe Nachman taught us, that we need to believe in ourselves. So this seems to be the opposite of a person that's always accepting criticism, a person always asking advice. Like, if you believe in yourself, so then why do I always need to ask advice, right? So I think it's a fair question. But the truth is that it's a very simple answer, and that is that the Mishnah tells us what Monty was sharing with us, that the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos that Ezehu Chacham halamed mikol adam. Pirkei Avos, yes. In the Ethics of the Fathers, it's called. So it says over there that Ezehu Chacham halamed mikol adam. So there's a Mishnah. There's a Mishnah in the fourth parak. Ben Zoma teaches that it's a whole list of statements. So Ezehu Chacham halamed mikol adam. Who is the wise man? A person who learns from everyone. Ezehu Gibor, who is a mighty person, a person who is able to overcome his evil inclination. Hakovesh es yitzrei. Ezehu Asher, who is a rich person. Sameach bechalko, a person who is satisfied with his own lot. Ezehu Mechubad, who is a person who is a dignified person, who is a person who is a person who owns respect. Hamachabed es abrios, a person who gives respect to others. So there's a beautiful teaching from Rebbe Nachman. That Rebbe Nachman said, what's this Mishnah teaching? That it's coming to help us have a change in mindset. That if you ask a person on the street, what's the definition of a mighty person? So you tell them the what? The strongest person, the guy that is able to beat up his friend, right? The person that's a professional fighter, and he's an expert in boxing and kickboxing or whatever it is, and he's able to just knock him dead. Like that's what it means to be a mighty person. And if you ask a person what's the definition of a rich person, that if you're in the list of the what's it called, Forbes, something. Fortune 500. Then you're a rich person. Like it's all comparative. If I say who is the person who has the most glory, the most honor, the person who has the most followers, the people who gets the most views, the most likes. That's what it means to have honor. And if you follow this logic, so what is the definition of the wisest person? The person who knows the most. Okay, the person who's able to outsmart, who's able to win the spelling bee, who's able to win the Chidon HaTanach, who's able to win the, I don't know what's a good Goyish example for Jeopardy. No, not Jeopardy. The world champion of Jeopardy is the smartest person in the world.
Pretty much.
No. Okay, so I guess there is no Goyish example. So Rebbe said that this mission is trying to debunk these definitions and to understand that the definitions of these qualities is not comparative, but rather it's essential. Okay, and what he's saying is that if you want to be a wise person, so it's not about being wiser than somebody. The wise person is the person who has the midah of chachma, a person who is obsessed with wisdom. A person who is obsessed with wisdom, he is truly a wise person because he's connected to the trait of wisdom. And so the way that he expresses the fact that he's obsessed with wisdom is the fact that he's lomed mikol adam. He always wants to learn. He's never satisfied with wisdom. He always wants more because he is obsessed with wisdom. The person who is actually wise, that he owns this definition of he is a wise man. The person who is essentially wise is a person who is obsessed with wisdom, and that expresses itself in the fact that he's always asking advice. Okay? And similarly with the other things, that Ezehu Asher, the person who is truly rich, is not a person who is richer than somebody else. He's a person that is inherently connected to the trait of wealth. And the person who is connected to the trait of wealth is a person that has satisfaction. Okay? A person who is mighty is not a person that I can beat you up. It's a person who I have inherent might. I'm able to beat myself up in a good way. A person who's able to. All right? I'm beating up my evil inclination, and I'm being true to my values, and I'm able to not be a pushover when it comes to my better judgment. That's what it means to be to inherently mighty person. It's a person who's able to have inner strength, not just external strength. Okay? And similarly, a person who's mechubad, a person who's connected to kavod, a person who has true honor, a person who's an actually honorable person. That the litmus test, if he has true honor, is if he gives honor to others. Okay? If you don't respect anybody else, that means that you actually don't have any true honor. And because you have such a low self-esteem, you just need other people to constantly telling you that you're the top of the world. If you would actually be connected to honor, you wouldn't need to hear it from anybody else. And just the opposite, you would be so overflowing with honor that you would be telling everybody else how awesome they are. Okay, so a person who's looking for this external glory. So that's the biggest proof that they're a honorless person, that the person who's actually completely void of true glory, of true honor. So in this sense, the person, but when coming back to knowledge, person coming back to understanding. So Rebbe Nachman says the person who's truly wise is a person who's always lomed mikol adam. He's always looking to learn, and so a person that is truly connected to wisdom. So he has no issue of somebody teaching them something new. Like, if you can help me improve, then I'm excited to hear, because I'm actually a wise person, which is a great thing. Like, if I wouldn't be a wise person, then I wouldn't care, and I wouldn't want to hear that I'm wrong. Whereas because I'm a wise person, because I'm actually a person of value, that's why I'm excited when you have a piece of wisdom to add to my repertoire. That I'm excited about that, and I welcome it with open arms. So basically, we could say that there's different ways that a person could come to ask advice. Like if you like, I would say that there's three kinds of people that ask advice. One person is asking for advice. He doesn't really, when he's coming for advice, he doesn't really want advice. He has his opinion. He wants really validation. Okay, one person wants validation, and could you give me a bracha? You could he hides the fact that he's asking the bracha as if he's asking for advice, but he's actually very, very clear. He knows exactly what he wants. I know, this is a little bit unrelated, but my Rebbe Nachman, so he was once. I asked, I wanted to speak with him. He said, "No, I'm sorry, I have to go. I want to go to a certain big rabbi to ask his advice." That's what he told me. And so meanwhile, later in the day, I saw a friend of mine who was a closer student to Rebbe. He was a chavrusa of his, and he knew all the ins and outs of his life. And so I said, I mentioned that Rebbe told me that he was going to so and so to ask his advice on something, and so my friend laughed. I said, no, he wasn't asking his advice. He was telling him off. He was going to his house to tell him that because he was a big famous rabbi, and he was the whole world was listening to what he was saying, and my rabbi was as wise as him, just not as popular. But they themselves knew that they were at least on the same level. So he was going over to this big rabbi to tell him that you're making a big mistake. You need to stop what you're doing. But he knew that it didn't sound good to tell me that. Because the world looks at him as he's the. So he told me that he's going to ask advice, but really what he was. But the truth is that there's people that's really what they're doing. That's they're coming to tell the rabbi what's the truth, and they're right, I should do this, and the rabbi doesn't really see he doesn't know what to talk to. So that's one kind of person. That's one kind of person who's asking advice. They're not really asking for advice. They're asking for validation, right? That on the opposite side of the spectrum. So there's a person that they're asking advice because they're actually clueless. They're not a chacham. They're not wise at all. They're asking advice because they've forgotten how to think. They've been perhaps taught that they're not supposed to think. And these are the people that ask the rabbi what kind of washing detergent they should buy, and they've been programmed to not think. There's a certain unhealthy way of looking towards Torah that there's a joke. It's how many Baal Tshuvas does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is I don't know. Are you allowed? To think that they're whoa, now I'm in this world where nothing I think matters, and the only people that know are the people that learned in yeshiva for 50 years, and now I'm in this world where I just have to deal with the fact that everything that I could possibly think is completely irrelevant. So that's the opposite of what Rebbe Nachman wanted to teach. 1 second. That's precisely against that kind of mentality. What Rebbe Nachman was saying, that I want you to believe in yourself. I want you to believe that you have the ability. I want you to believe that you have a good brain. I want you to believe in your thoughts. But then there's a third kind. There's a third kind of a person that asks for advice, and that's that the truth is that there's a Mishnah. There's another Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. It says marba etza, marba tfuna. If your person has more advice, then they have more wisdom. And there's a very fascinating statement on that Mishnah that's in the commentary called Ruach Chaim from Rav Chaim Volozhiner, that he says that Hainu Da'ami Inshi, that this is a reference to what people say. There's a saying in his time that Sha'al etza va'asei kasech, that ask advice and then do what you think. So now, what does that mean? He's explaining the Mishnah that marba etza marba tfuna, a person who has more advice has more understanding. Okay, what does that mean? That what is the purpose of asking advice? Is to expand my perspective, is to understand different ways of looking at a situation that I wasn't able to look at myself, because like we mentioned before, a person needs to understand their limits. A person needs to understand that I have my personal way of looking at things based on my own experiences, based on my own like negias. I have my own swayings. I would like something to be a certain way, so I have a bias towards that way. And I can't look at things objectively because nothing is objective, because if it's related to me, so then I have a bias because I have a way that I would like it to turn out. So because I understand that I have a bias, so I want to hear an unbiased opinion, I want to hear a perspective from the outside, and the more people that I talk to, the more perspectives I'm going to get, and the more perspectives I'm going to get, the more of a full picture I'm able to understand of the situation. So after I get the full situation, after I get every perspective that there is to understand about something, then what do I do? So then I go back to my own seichel. I go with my own ability to make decisions, and then now that I understand everything that there is to understand about the question, so now I can still trust myself to make a decision based on that information. And this is something that I believe that this is the difference between a good mentor and a bad mentor. That a bad mentor will just tell you what to do. And like, I pride myself in not telling people what to do. Like, I like to say that unless somebody is really dumb, I won't tell them what to do. Okay? Because if they're really dumb, then like you have to tell them what to do, because
why do you always tell me what to do?
So that a person, if a rabbi is telling the students what to do, if a mentor is telling the students what to do, so then they're teaching them to be unempowered. They're teaching them not to believe in themselves, and they're not really helping them grow. It could be that in the short term you're helping them, but you're not actually improving their ability to succeed in life. Yeah, you want to say something?
I was just going to say that there was something I saw that, like, Kid Charles, he'll be like, there's a tissue on my desk, and then his, like, servant man will have to come from, like, the other room to, like, throw it out for him, even with the trash cans. Like, it's all within 10 centimeters of him. And it's, like, the way that, because it was a documentary about him, but the way that they described it was, like, the thought for him to throw it out, like, it's not even a concept.
Wow.
Like, he wouldn't even think to move it, to throw it out himself. He's like, of course, like, it's not that it's, like, maybe it's for him, it's like, oh, it's this lowly thing, but he doesn't even, I don't even know if he would equate it to that. It was like, they were saying, like, he just, it's just not even something you'd think about.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
So
this is what it means, that Marba Eitzim Marba Tfuna is that the purpose of receiving advice is not instead of my own abilities. It's specifically because I do believe in my own abilities. That's why I'm asking advice, because I understand that I have the ability to make a decision. So because I know I have the ability to make a decision, I want more information. I want to get the full picture, and after I get the full picture, that's why because I trust in myself. So this really leads us to another very fascinating thing, which is that people that actually believe in themselves, people that actually believe in their abilities, people that believe that they're wise people, they actually don't mind being corrected. They actually don't mind being wrong. Because if I believe in myself, if I actually believe in myself, when I say self, I mean that I am a person that has intellect. I am a person, I am a chacham. I am a chacham. I have a good brain. If I have a good brain, if I believe that I have a good brain, then I don't need to be correct about any particular piece of information. Because that piece of information is negligent. That is negligible. It's something that it doesn't define me, the fact that I said one thing. Whereas, if I actually don't believe in my abilities, so then what's left? What's left is my ideas. So if I don't believe in myself, meaning who I am, so then what defines me? What defines me is that what I said is correct. So a person that doesn't believe in themselves, when somebody critiques them, when somebody when somebody says maybe you should ask somebody their advice, which is questioning my decision, right? So they look at that as an existential attack. That there's like, if this is wrong, then I have no validity, that I have no worth, I have no essence, because I am what I said. And if you dare doubt the validity of my opinion on any particular issue, so then it's as if I cease to exist. So that's all. That could only exist if a person doesn't believe in themselves. If a person believes in myself as a chacham, a person that I believe that I have the ability to make decisions, then then I'm open to discuss everything. I could be wrong. I could because I'm human. Everybody makes mistakes. So the ability to receive advice is actually specifically from a place of believing in oneself. Okay, so this is the. So this is what Rebbe Nachman is telling us, that a person that has the ability to receive advice, so this is what keeps us sane, this is what keeps us on track, and a person that has this disability to listen to other people, a disability to take advice, so either it's a sign that he is insane, it's a sign that he is psychotic, or it will bring him to be psychotic because he's going to be stuck in his like very small amount of information, that because he's human, because he only has a limited way to understand things, a limited way to see things, and this is it's a very dangerous way to live. And in Mishlei talks about this, that Shlomo Melech talks about three people, that there's the chacham, then there's the pesi, who's the fool. And then he talks about somebody who's worse than the pesi, worse than the fool, and that is the chacham be'enav, the person who thinks he's smart. And Shlomo Melech says that the chacham be'enav is much. He thinks the pesi is also horrible, but he writes about how the chacham be'enav is more dangerous to himself and more dangerous to society than the pesi, because the fool. A person who's a fool it's horrible. The fact that there's so many fools in the world is truly. Like, what's the difference between a fool and a person who thinks he's smart? A fool is a person that doesn't have a clear compass of good and bad, of true and false. That they're just
Really believe things.
That's also naivety is a sign of a person who's a fool, but a person that just doesn't have a compass, a person that doesn't have direction, doesn't have a way of discerning what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad, and so he just makes random decisions based on his whims, and that's dangerous to himself and dangerous to society. And King Solomon writes that a person who thinks that he knows everything is actually worse than a pesi, or worse than a fool. Right? So that's something to just 1 second. And so, and the last thought that I think is very possible that Rebbe Nachman is hinting to in this teaching is that because his whole teaching is about not listening to Chachamim. So, who is the most famous historical figure that didn't want to listen to the Chachamim? Is Jesus. Right? Jesus was known as that his thing was like not believing in the Chachamim. That like if you ever get a video about the real truth about the oral Torah, about the rabbi, it's all the rabbinic Judaism. It's all about Christianity. The main thing that Christianity went off is because they didn't accept the rabbis, and that's what Chazal said. The Gemara in Gittin says that Yeshu there was mizalzel b'divrei chachamim, that he mocked divrei chachamim, and so I think that Rebbe Nachman might be hinting to this as well, because what's the biggest the biggest hurdle for a person in Christianity in the Kuzari, in the Sefer Kuzari from Rebbe Levi? So he makes the book starts with a little bit of comparative religions, and he has a little bit about he speaks to a Christian scholar, he speaks to a Muslim scholar, he speaks to a philosopher, and he debunks all of their philosophies. So when he gets to the Christian, So his response is, nothing that you're saying makes too much sense. It's like everything you're saying is like very illogical. What's this, like 3 is 1? I'm supposed to believe that? What's this, like virgin birth? I'm supposed to believe that? Like nothing. You're saying a lot of things that sound like wow, but like you have to sort of like throw your brain in the garbage if you want to accept that, right? And so Christianity really is into that. Like there's this Christian saying that comes from Latin. I don't remember how to say it in Latin, but that it goes that I believe because it's absurd. Because if I to believe in something that makes sense, that's okay. What's that worth? Like that you call yourself a believer? You call yourself a believer because you believe in something that makes sense? No, I'm a believer because I believe in something that makes no sense. That's belief. And so they turn this into a religion. They turn this into an idea that to believe in something because it is illogical. And so I think the Rebbe Nachman might have been making a critique on the whole Christianity that you know how they got to this psychosis, how they got to this insanity of having an ideal of illogical beliefs. It's all because they didn't listen to the Chacham. Like it could have only come to people that didn't want to believe, to listen to people who are wiser than them. That it started with not listening to the Chachamim and it ended up in complete insanity. So this is what this Rebbe Nachman wants us to understand, that to believe in ourselves, to totally believe in ourselves, and because we believe in ourselves, from that place of believing in ourselves, that to be open to critique, to be open to wisdom from people who have that wisdom, to believe that there are people that are wiser than us, and to always seek their advice, and to never think that the fact that we are seeking advice from people who are wise is in any way taking away from our abilities, from taking away from our worth. And that it's only helping us grow, it's only helping us be stronger, it's only empowering us and making us into better people, more healthy people, more sane people. B'ezrat Hashem.